So I want to start kind of by introducing this idea that your applications, the ones that you're building right now or using right now, are not real applications. They are, for the most part, a front end to a smart contract. They are a way for you to interact, like back in the day with command line, with some piece of functionality. But the reality is, as a user, you need to deal with the whole experience, right? An experience includes probably an exchange, a wallet software, and kind of lots of pieces in between to make your application work. And that's a very limiting world we're living in because it really we struggle with adoption for users who are not ready to kind of ape into, a new thing that just popped up on Twitter and X. And so we have a very fragmented experience, and it's actually getting more fragmented with more block space and more innovation happening. And so we have, on one side, as a developer, if you're building something right now, you're deciding which chain to launch on, and that naturally limits your addressable market, right? You pretty much trying to gamble on which blockchain will have the most users and kind of the most economic activity to make sure that you actually can capture that and build toward that. And that's as if, back in the day, you would be pretty much picking which kind of region to launch in the world because the, people from, for example, Europe are not able to connect to websites in America. The example I really like is if you went to Netflix right now and it actually asked you which data center to go to, and then, some data centers were too busy and you need to pay extra money. So you need to move money from one data center to another to watch a movie. And some movies are not available on different data centers. That's kind of the level we're at right now. And this leads to a highly fragmented experience, right? And for developers as well, you have, for example, applications you want to compose with, which are not available on some chains. And in turn, you're not able to build functionality unless you actually tag along with that chain, but then you limit your target market to that chain as well. And on the user side, you also have a limitation that you're actually having trouble finding these applications, right? Somebody's launching somewhere a new app, and there's no way to see that. There's no way to actually figure out, even if you are looking on chain, right, and kind of indexing every single smart contract launch, what exactly is this application? Where is it? And in turn, you also have lots of security issues because this front end's, getting hacked. Like Curve had a front end hack, for example. People have kind of fake front ends. If you Google for an application, there's a lot of scam pretty much in that's running ads that trying to steal your money. Now, again, as a user, I have, I think, a dozen different wallet providers. In each wallet, I have, lots of different accounts. I have, sometimes spending time just figuring out where do I have on which chain, kind of what assets. And that, continues growing, right? There's probably 10 new chains launched since I started talking. And you're probably all, already signing up and setting up accounts for that. And at the end, as a user, I just care about finding, interesting applications, new experiences, cool, entertainment, or a financial kind of economic opportunity. I want to find, kind of the product and not really care about the specifics of infrastructure. And so kind of the core idea that I want to introduce is instead, kind of in this world of, lots and lots of new infrastructure, we have this kind of move to defragment this, to really aggregate all those experiences and now have a single entry point, single wallet, single kind of super app potentially that as a user you can go through. Now, there should be alternatives, but from an experience perspective, there should be one wallet for all chains. And so we started this chain abstraction movement kind of with a lot of folks, including here, from Ethereum ecosystem, Cosmos ecosystem, kind of broader Web3 ecosystems, from research and development, from blockchains to kind of applications and wallets, because this is kind of the idea that you want to abstract out this complexity. You want to ensure that users and developers are not limited by any kind of the limitations of infrastructure and really able to navigate the whole Web3. Now, the chain abstraction is a broad movement that includes a lot of technology, right? Chain abstraction is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve kind of this invisible infrastructure, similarly how internet works, right? Again, you're not thinking about when you go into a website, if it's on Google Cloud, Amazon, or somebody's server under the desk, you're just using the website. And to achieve that, right, there is like lots of technologies in Web 2 that need to happen, and similarly, there's a set of technologies in Web 3. And so aggregation that, for example, Polygon is moving, orchestration with Agoric, intents with Anoma, modularity kind of across the whole spectrum of L2s and Celestia. All of these are technologies that really fitting into this chain abstraction movement. And so for us, this journey actually started back when we just were considering to build Near protocol. And the reality is we started because we actually wanted to use blockchain to solve our own problem, building a different startup, Near AI. And we ended up realizing, so, in our use case, we wanted to pay people to do work. And the experience of a user needing to figure out a number of steps, including actually fund their account to actually start getting paid, is as if, you go to work, you come into your first day and they say, well, you need to first deposit $100 to actually start working, and you'll receive your salary later. So that's not the experience we want. And for us, we always wanted to remove all of the complexity of the blockchains from kind of user purview. And so we focused on that. We built a lot of the Near infrastructure itself in that manner, right? Near has account abstraction from day one, enabling pretty much through access keys, different devices, multi-sigs, recovery. Any account is a smart contract, and you can go and, for example, sell this account. You can turn it into an NFT. You can have different access keys, for example, as tickets to the events. There's lots and lots of functionality and flexibility. There are meta transactions that allow to hide transaction fees so that when users just starting to work and starting to earn, they don't need to pay transaction fees. The kind of whoever pays them able to cover that. And there's a lot of other functionality from standards and wallets that to kind of overall flow that needed to happen to enable this. Now, all of that was focused on Near, right? And we've kind of built a lot of this inside Near blockchain. But as we saw over past year and a half, we had an explosion of multiple chains and kind of approaches and modularity. And it's pretty clear that we're going to have lots and lots of different kind of either, differently branded or differently customized block space existing in parallel. And so with Near, we decided that we're going to go beyond just Near protocol and really expand this idea of chain abstraction to all of the chains. Now, we started with kind of fundamental pieces because at the end, the blockchain is about security. And so you do need to have a security aggregation. You need to make sure that if you're relying on another chain and transacting through it, there's some way to tie in security of these things. And so at the bottom, we have Near protocol, which is, uses a sharding mechanism called Nightshade, allowing to continue scaling the network. And we actually had increased the number of shards from 4 to 6 over the past 2 weeks, pretty much adding 50% more capacity as we actually had growth of some applications. Now, Near itself has data availability, which allows to have rollups and app chains that post their data on Near to kind of interlink the security with this. And the benefit, again, because Near's chain itself can continue adding capacity, the data availability actually scales. We went from 16 megabytes per second to pretty much 24 megabytes per second in the last 2 weeks of data availability, which, I don't know, a 100x multiple over Duncan. Now, you still want to link to Ethereum, and you want to have this Ethereum security. And so EigenLayer provides an extremely powerful tool set to actually link security of different pieces. And so we're working with them on a fast finality layer that connects layer 2's Near's data availability and Ethereum validators all together into one security zone. finally, zero-knowledge proofs are a technology that allows to scale security from, if you run something on one server, if you have a ZK proof and you post it on a 100 billion, 400 billion network like Ethereum, you're able to have security of that, even though it didn't do replication of the execution. And so we're working with Polygon on zero-knowledge proof for WebAssembly, which is the nearest VM that would allow to actually have this probability. So all of these pieces working together to provide this security layer that you can now interlink between different chains and have the guarantees to enable this. Now, there is another layer, which is a front end, and we don't usually talk about it. But I mentioned, people getting hacked, for example, constantly through front end, through wallets. It's a pretty kind of sad reality of crypto that we have these problems. And so one of the things we invested in is a decentralized front end framework that allows to have the front ends living together with smart contracts. So the front end itself, the way you access application, is checked in on a blockchain, can be permissioned in exactly the same way as your smart contract. So you can have, upgradability in the same way. And you can have now applications which aggregate front ends from different chains and smart contracts. So I mentioned your dApps are not dApps is because your dApps are actually just front ends. And now you can have applications like dApp, which have 14 different chains, 150 different kind of dApps, front ends, all in one experience where you don't need to go and kind of switch tabs, if you want to bridge or if you want to lend or if you want to swap. You don't need to figure out which chain things are on. You have all of these applications. You have a feed of what's the latest things are happening across them. You have a single experience, a single platform for all of the DeFi across Web3. Now, Near, because of the kind of our focus on chain abstraction for Near itself, has been a home for top consumer apps. We have applications like KiteChain, which has over 8 million monthly with 2.4 million daily active users pre-installed on the phone directly, where users are benefiting from actually going from using Stripe to using Near, which slashed the fees 100x, which is really funny. Going from Web 2 to Web 3 reduces fees. We have applications like PlayEmber, which is a gaming app. We have Sweatcoin, which is a new type of asset and kind of an engagement platform. And we have Hot, which is a new Telegram wallet, which became viral and actually now sits at about 4 million users. So all of these benefit from meta transaction, counter abstraction, being able to not explain to users what Near network is, what blockchain is, and really onboard easily to the Web3 and start leveraging it, start benefiting from it. Now, there's still a missing piece, as I mentioned. We want this to be accessible, the whole Web3 through this. And so we're introducing today Near chain signatures. Near chain signatures is this idea that we want through Near users to be able to explore and use the whole Web3 and not be limited by a single blockchain. And so we turn every Near account or smart contract to be able to sign transactions on any other chain. Pretty much anything that uses cryptography, and we're adding different cryptographic curves, will be able to pretty much transact by requesting a signature on Near network. And this is extremely powerful because it allows now to pretty much have addresses for your account Near account, have addresses on every other chain, be able to transact with apps there, be able to receive funds, be able to swap and kind of interchange between them. And because it's not just for accounts, it's for smart contracts, as a developer now, if you want to build a multi-chain app, you have extreme kind of flexibility without needing to handle all of the message passing and kind of security concerns around this. And so the example for a user is similarly to Coinbase or Binance, where you log in with an account and you have addresses across all chains that you can interact. And I think one of the things like I kind of jokingly mentioned is that the state of interoperability right now in Web3 is actually centralized exchanges because they are the most used cross-chain interop solution. And so what we're trying to do here is bring in non-custodial tools with account abstraction and chain signatures to really enable to build applications that can rival centralized exchanges. So there's a lot of security kind of going behind the scene. It's a multi-party computation network with nodes that are actually signing. There's a special key regeneration that happens to ensure that nodes can leave and join. And we kind of have node providers from both near network and from eigenlayer, meaning Ethereum restakers, to actually secure this network. So we want to expand the security of this as much as possible to ensure that you can have as much as possible of value through these accounts. Finally, just signing is not enough, right? You requested a signature, you got, for example, signed transaction, but it sits in a near network. And so it's really important to also abstract the gas and over time, kind of in general, token-related operations. And so kind of one of the pieces of this technology is multi-chain gas relayer, where because of this ability to for smart contracts to manage accounts on other chains now through chain signatures, you're able to request a signature and pay on near with any near token, be that native near or Sweatcoin, USDC, or anything else. And then a relayer, a kind of third party, can pick this transaction up that was signed and pretty much pay for it on the other chain. And so this enables to now, you as a user don't need to even know which base token was used on the other chain. You don't need to figure out how to bridge to it. You don't need to think if there's even a bridge that you can use or what's the latency on this, because you now have kind of a decentralized network of relayers who can actually do all of these operations on your behalf. And this becomes extremely powerful for, again, smart contracts, which can now act on other chains. So just to list some use cases, right? So the simplest and first use case is taking Bitcoin, XRP, ADA, BitTensor, which don't dodge, and making them pretty much smart contract platforms. Because now you can write smart contracts on Near, which have and can transact on all of these chains. And so from a perspective of a user, you're able to log in with your whatever that network wallet and pretty much start transacting with that smart contract. And that smart contract can transact back and send assets. And so, for example, you can have, multi-chain DEX or a lending protocol where you deposit your TAO and borrow against it, for example, Sol. It's important that this is not kind of a direct bridge, because instead of bridges which have a number of issues around kind of being a honeypot of all the assets, we keep assets where they have been issued, right? Bitcoin stays on Bitcoin. We're not trying to bridge it anywhere. If, you have a new token issued on a new rollup that just happened, an hour ago, it stays there. You just now have an address on that chain you can transact on, but that's invisible for you. And so this allows to have this kind of cross-chain DeFi with chains that just got launched and not really need to kind of wait for a bridge to be integrated, tokens to be listed, all of this complexity that we usually see kind of in multi-chain environment. The multi-chain account abstraction, Vitalik actually mentioned this exact problem, that right now, if you want to do a recovery of an account and you have this address across, 50 chains, now you need to go and do a recovery on every single chain. And that's extremely complicated. Here we have single account, near account, that you can do social recovery. You can have, custodian, you can have multi-sig, and all of the addresses are attached to it. There's also things, because you can have smart contracts having addresses, you can actually sell addresses in a batch. You can have a way to pretty much swap a whole set of assets that attach to an address in one transaction just by selling the whole address to another person. And so as an application, you can now reach as well all the chains at once at launch. Your token can actually, by launching on Near, can go to every chain at once and be available there. So there's a lot more use cases. There's a whole dev chat where people are kind of experimenting, exploring. But to just show you how it works, right? So this is on testnet right now. You can start building towards this. This is sending a Ethereum transaction by pretty much specifying, sending some ETH and which address you want to send it to. And you sign a Near transaction and you see an Ethereum pretty much. So you sign a Near transaction and you see it in Ethereum Explorer afterwards that it's settled. And pretty much what happened underneath is that you send a near transaction that says, sign me this transfer, the MPC network signs it, and then it gets relayed on Ethereum. Similarly, you do it with Bitcoin. You just switch which bit network you want to relate to, and you see this on the Bitcoin network. Now, given you have Bitcoin, you can do the same now with ordinals. You can actually send your ordinal to this remote address that you have controlled by a near account, and now you can actually see this in, so EastBlue is building kind of ordinals marketplace, and Bitcoin L2 using this technology, and now you have an ability to pretty much, for example, trade your ordinals with 1 second latency and fraction of a cent fee on near without needing to kind of wait for Bitcoin settlement. I see what the audience likes here. Nah, should have did a different talk on ordinals again. Yes. Yeah. So, and you can obviously withdraw this ordinal back to another Bitcoin address controlled by Bitcoin multisig or anything like that. Similarly, Sweatcoin, which again, it's a 150 million user application. Their wallet has, I think, over 20 million users with a couple million monthly active, and so this wallet is going to be rolling out ability to transact across BNB and later Solana and other chains. And again, their users, they're not crypto. They're not actually, degenning and having 500 wallets. They're able to use all of this from one place in a very convenient experience, being able to swap between different assets, not even knowing that they are on different chains. And that is an experience that you usually see in Coinbase and Binance in a fully custodial, but this is in a non-custodial, fully decentralized kind of secure networks. So if you're a developer, jumping into docs and examples, there's kind of more examples being added, as well as people are building up now some of these first applications. It's going to be launching in next weeks. So I'll just leave you with this idea, right? Right now in this fragmented web, right, people are constantly having fun stuck and withdrawing, managing gas tokens. A number of times I'm I bridge something and then I'm need to figure out, okay, now I need to bridge something else to actually pay gas on that chain, because you cannot swap what you bridged without gas token, even though you have money there. You have obviously, which bridge to use, which bridge works, is it going to hack, did it get hacked already and I don't know about it yet. Lots of wallets, lots of different applications. And so we want to move to this chain abstraction world where you can access everything that's happening in Web3. You can see it in one place. You can leverage any asset across all chains and swap between all of them, and being able to capture kind of all the economic opportunity and all of the fun that's happening on chain. So I'll just kind of invite everyone to assemble into this chain abstraction movement. And there's a lot of people already kind of following this. And if you're excited about it, follow me on X or in your social and join Chain Abstraction group. Thank you.